I got a question for you. Have they successfully just wiped out any enthusiasm you had with these ETF launches? Because with each ETF launch, it seems like they're just destroying the price of XRP more and more. And that being said, there was 9 anticipated to be launched in this week. So what can we expect on the price going forward for XRP? Because many are making their price predictions, but what we have seen is that it hasn't been the moonshot that many people were looking for. I'm going to talk about that.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Yes, the price of XRP has been dismal. As it says here in the story highlights, it plunged below $2 amid a market wide crash. But Bitwise's new XRP ETF still posts strong early volume and inflows despite the bearish conditions. And that's the question we need to ask ourselves. Why is the price of the asset they're covering going down while there's such an amazing response to the release of the exchange traded funds? For example, Bitwise Asset Manager launched its spot XRP ETF on the New York Stock Exchange ARCA under the ticker XRP. Despite weak market conditions, the debut saw a strong response. The fund recorded nearly 22 million in trading volume within the first few hours. Bitwise also attracted more than 105 million in early inflows, showing solid interest from both retail and institutional investors. It didn't stop there. Canary Capital released theirs, which posted a record-breaking 59 million in its first day, 245 million in net inflows, the strongest ETF debut of 2025 so far. Momentum around XRP ETFs is clearly growing. So what's happening to the price? Well, I noticed something in looking at the price because like I mentioned, there's 9 more coming. Well, 9 scheduled altogether. Some have already come and more are coming. Like I did the video, the runners are coming to the tape at a different time. But I noticed something when I looked at the price of XRP. What I was expecting, of course, is this spike in volume, which is negative. But of course, how could I look at that and not see this? What happened here on the 10th of October that there was such a negative response? Was there another ETF relist that maybe most people missed? Yes, there was supposed to be. Tuttle Capital 2X Long XRP Daily Target ETF officially became effective on October 10th, 2025, under SEC Rule 485, marking its launch date. Now, if I investigated a little further, I saw that there was a delay on that launch date, but nonetheless, its anticipated impact had its effect on the market. Just another head fake, perhaps? I would say yes. The AI search fill in also said yes. The broader market context on October 10th, 2025, saw significant volatility with XRP price testing levels from earlier in the year. Though the specific impact of the Tuttle ETF's launch on that date is not detailed in the provided content. The reason it's not detailed is because it was delayed after it had its effects. They are trying to destroy retail sentiment, and they're doing it by carpet bombing us with these 9 ETFs launched in 1 week. As this article says in the quick read section, 9 XRP ETFs launched this week across US exchanges, and they did bounce around between CBOE, NASDAQ, and the New York Stock Exchange ARCA. But they had remarkable results, whereas the price of XRP was destroyed. What's coming next? Canary has already happened. Franklin Templeton has already happened. Bitwise has already happened. But now we're looking for 21 shares XRP each exchange traded product to hit the market. The 24th, I believe. CoinShares physical XRP ETF is going to hit the market. The Big Kahuna Grayscale is going to have an XRP ETF conversion that hits the market. Wisdom Tree is going to have an XRP ETF that hits the market. Amplify is going to have an XRP ETF that hits the market. And Van Eck is going to have an XRP ETF that hits the market, and they are going to destroy retail sentiment while they rake in the fees from selling these exchange traded products, even amongst themselves. The XRP's 2026 outlook now depends on how these new ETFs perform. Well, they're already performing quite well. It gives a bullish prediction. And they say if the bullish prediction happens and inflows stay strong through early 2026, steady allocations of $3 to $6 billion would give XRP the support it lacked during the recent pullback. Let's be clear, XRP does not lack any support. Anyone with a brain and financial investing wants it. The treasuries want it. The nation states want it. Those who move cross border payments and large trillions and billion-dollar sums want it. That's not the issue. It says if they secure major banking partnerships, how much more major can you get than SWIFT? But they do have significant major banking partnerships. And the XRP ledger keeps rising. Well, of course it will. They give you prices around 260 opens the way to the $3 zone. They have minimized our expectations on the price of XRP. And so when we look at articles like this, we need to keep in mind something that I've been saying now for probably years. And now they're saying the quiet part out loud. Listen very closely. The man is going to come right out and tell you if you're listening. So let's listen.
Crypto retail is in max desperation. We've seen leverage blowouts. We've seen issues with vaults. We've seen issues with yield protocols. And the market for sort of crypto native retail is just more depressed than I've ever seen it. I think that market is close to a bottom. It's hard to find a crypto native investor who still has much enthusiasm for the market. I think the market is shifting into an institutionally driven market. And
that's where they want it.
That market is still bullish. When I go out and speak to institutions or financial advisors, they're still excited to allocate to an asset class that, if you pan back and look over the course of a year, is still delivering very strong returns. So my view of the market is we have to get through this retail flush out. Hit bottom from a sentiment perspective.
Destroy the
very
sentiment.
Close to that. And then I'm optimistic that we rally into the end of the year and into 2026 as the institutional investors who are more maybe even keeled about what's going
Get the
on
minnows out of the way.
Fundamental level in crypto start to drive the market.
They just called us stupid.
So I'm optimistic, but we do have to finish this washout of retail sentiment. And again, I think we're closer to the end of that.
So make no mistake about it. Whenever you see these price predictions for November, for the ETF, for, I don't know, a canary got released in a mine, it doesn't really matter. They are not designed to give you good, solid financial guidance and advice. They are 100% an effort to manipulate your mind and adjust your paradigm. And so that's why you should come listen to DK Will, the Paradigm Whisperer. Because, like I've said so many times before, I understand what they're saying. I don't speak it, but I understand it. And so when we look at these projections as to what the prediction outlook is, if XRP stays above $1.77 and breaks 214, the upside target becomes 269 to 284. Why would that be? Why would that be when the fundamentals of the company behind the use of XRP is stronger? I'll tell you why. Because they have commandeered the market, but they're not quite done until, like that man said, until they flush out retail. Plain and simple. And how do they do it? They mess with the sentiment. They play with the psychology of the market. This article here, Franklin Templeton to launch spot XRP ETF as US approvals surge. Now, I did a video where I talked about how they were going to make a few changes and hold them back until they're ready to do exactly what they're doing. And this gives a bit of a history of what has been going on. It says, according to data from the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, the DTCC, five major financial institutions, such as Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, Canary Capital, 21 Shares, and CoinShares, have filed applications. Market analysts say the activity signals that the approval process has entered its final phase, marking a potential turning point for the broader crypto market. The turning point, folks, is that the financial institutions have commandeered the market. Now, how can I say that? I'm not going to read this article. This is DK. We'll talk about it. But I'll give you enough information, and it's going to whisper to your paradigm. Because this here talks about the institutional capital and liquidity impact on XRP. As I mentioned, how they have commandeered and accumulated enough XRP to manipulate the price of the market. And because of the SEC lawsuit and the outcome of that lawsuit, and it's not a security, there is no securities violations when it's not a security. But in the meantime, for example, Virtue Financial disclosed USD 63 million in XRP holdings. Armada Acquisition, and it's going to be Evernorth, implemented a USD $1 billion XRP focused financial strategy. And as my video brought out, they had already been working on that, and they were done long before the month came. They already had their $1 billion. I'll put a card up here for that. But the point is, there's $63 million worth of XRP. There's $1 billion worth of XRP. Can you tell me if that's enough to manipulate the price of something? I would have to say yes. It is absolutely enough acquired to manipulate a price. And that's exactly what they're doing. Why? To flush out retail. So when these 9 more XRP ETFs start showing up, keep your anticipations level. Know what you hold, because another thing the man said at the end of his video was,
So my view of the market is we have to get through this retail flush out, hit bottom from a sentiment perspective. And then I'm optimistic that we rally into the end of the year and into 2026. I'm optimistic, but we do have to finish this washout of retail sentiment.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.